It means that I can walk out of this building into the world for the first time in my life and say out loud, I know who I am in a way that I have never ever known before.
It's not about the search. It's about having identity, original identity.
I sponsored the bill in the state of New Hampshire that opened the adoption records, and my daughter was adopted and born in the state of Maine, so we had to wait until today for her to get her original birth record. So it's a wonderful day for us. It's the culmination of years of work, and she's very happy, very excited to finally have her own birth records, and I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it's something that every human being should have.
When the doctor asks you, well, do you know your family history, it's hard to say, well, I was adopted, so I don't really
I don't have a family history. That's the tough part about this whole thing. That's what's so unfair, because the original law in the state of Maine was written to protect the adoptive parents. Did you know that? The original law that was written to protect adoptive parents from the birth parents looking for them. And then over the years, the whole thing has become about the birth mother and wanting to keep her identity secret.
One of the communities that most perpetuated the protection of birth parents were the church communities, whether it's Jewish or Catholic or Protestant. There was a big investment in keeping the birth parent protected. But in fact, the history is that those communities perpetuated the shame that the birth mother ultimately felt about her having conceived out of wedlock, about her relinquishment of, in those days they called these proceedings bastardy proceedings. The churches perpetuated the shame. And so in modern days, it's the church that comes forward and says we have to protect the birth parents' privacy because they are so shamed. But they were the ones who perpetuated the birth parent shame in the first place. It has no basis in reality whatsoever except the myth of shame that they perpetuated and stamped onto these millions of women who relinquish children in the United States, in the Western world. Lack of insight, lack of wisdom had ramifications through generations.
It's important for me to know identity.
Yeah.
It's not about finding family and have family.
My main purpose for this is to get my medical history, to get my to get a little bit of understanding of what might be coming down through the generations as far as DNA, cancers, things like that. And also, I think it's a very important piece of who you are identity-wise. So that's my main focus.
We've been through a lot with my daughter, and it'll be a nice thing for her to realize who she is.
They're so worried that we're all going to run and ruin some people's lives, and just because we're adoptees doesn't make us harassers, stalkers, crazy people. We're just like everybody else. If that birth parent filed the contact preference form and they really didn't want contact, we're just human beings. We're not going to go force ourselves on someone else. It's just not how it is. They really have to let it go, let us all be adults, treat us as adults. Don't put the contact veto in there. Don't put criminal fines or threat of prosecution in there if we violate the contact preference form, because it's just not, people from the get-go are not, adoptees from the get-go are not criminals. They don't need to be treated that way. We're just like you. It's just not fair for them to put conditions on it. Government has no business legislating relationships. I've always said that. All right, thank you.
So it's now Robichaux?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the receipt back to you, and you are all set.
Thank you. Yep. She's on there.
Same thing?
Yeah,
Same
she
thing
is.
you do? Yeah.
Oh, it was recorded on May 9th at 68. Oh, wow. I don't even know. wanted that piece of paper. And I knew that it was probably not going to be anything new in there for me.
I went before a judge when I was 18, and he basically reprimanded me and told me I was ungrateful and sent me on my way. And then a few years later I went back and they did the search and found out she had died the following year. So I would have had maybe an opportunity to meet her, but at least I have a name.
My birth mother's name, her age when I was born, the name given for my birth father, and his age when I was born. I know from her last name my ethnicity, which I could have guessed, but it's nice to know for sure. Basically, this piece of paper gives me what I need to know to one day meet people who look like me, who maybe talk like me, who might be able to explain to me why it is that I've been playing the piano since I was 3 years old, when nobody in my adopted family has any musical bent. So this is a testament to the work that Paula and Bobby and Kathy and other people in the state legislature have done here, which is to give us our birthright. And that makes me a stronger person, and it makes me someone who is more capable of being a contributing citizen in the United States, because I really and truly believe in a way that I never have before in a political process that in the end does the right thing by people in this country.
I don't think people can understand, unless they've been adopted, what it feels like to go your whole entire life not knowing vital statistics about where you're from, what your nationality is, things like that. And I think this is a very important thing for all of us. And I hope that it just waves across the country. And I hope everyone in America gets the same right.
Reasons why I think Paula was so successful in the Maine state legislature is because as an adoptee and a colleague in the Senate, when her colleagues understood that a state senator was not able to get her original birth certificate, now I believe that it became personal for them. Now they started to listen on a different level, and in all these states attempting to get these laws changed, we search for ways for legislators to connect personally with the issue. And I think Paula's being an adoptee and a state senator helped them with that bridge of connection so that they could recognize what would it be like for them as senators and representatives to have government prevent them from knowing their original identity. I think that's one of the pieces of currency she really brought to the issue.
I mean, this issue was not something that was brought by a well-funded special interest group. It was not something that was on any political party's platform. This is something that a group of citizens recognized an injustice and brought it to the legislature. And it's, for me, in 4 years in the legislature, this is one of those stories of how the system works the way it's supposed to. When people brought an issue to their representatives and educated us and helped us educate others, and it was not easy, and it was sometimes ugly, but it ended up as a beautiful thing.
Well, I've worked with people in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Colorado, and across the country. It's difficult. Hopefully it'll gain some momentum, but it's not an easy process. It's a very, very difficult bill. There are a lot of opponents to opening records, and for various reasons. I think looking for a sense of identity, and everyone wants to know who they really are, where they came from. You know, it's a great opening to find out who one really is.
I know that they put a lot of work into it, and I know any state that actually is going to try and get this passed in their legislature, that it's going to be a long haul. There's going to be a lot of people that are really scared of this type of legislation. They go back and say the birth parents needed their privacy, but particularly in our state, in the law, it always said that a judge could open the file if proper. State law backs us up. Birth parents have never signed a paper that said that they were promised privacy. It's different, it's new, people are scared, but this is the wave of the future. We're state number 8, and the numbers are only going to go up from there.
We're changing the culture, changing the way we think about adoption from here on in.
Let you know that I'm holding your heritage in my hand right now. I know, isn't it crazy?